So, Martin, I mean, how do you think AI is going to affect your business at the moment?
Well, I think I can't imagine things coming in like robots coming in and fixing boilers and things like that yet. But I'm sure the more I think a lot of the plumbers and heating engineers and things like that, they are often guys who are not that tech savvy, so they're going to be looking for people to bring stuff in for them. But I think initially it'll be more like service bookings and things like that. I can't imagine in our sector it's going to go massive initially on that front, because it's like these guys are often just on the tools all day long. They haven't got time to integrate too much, so they're going to be relying on someone outside going, right, this is I think what you need and things like that. I do think it'll be more basic to begin with.
Do you think there's going to be resistance from those old boy engineers in their vans?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You still got people writing out stuff on pen and paper, service reports and things like that. Yeah, so it's not. I don't think it's ever going to change. You've got a generation to move along there.
That is the thing. But I guess, it's a huge opportunity. I think it's potentially a huge opportunity for everybody. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you familiar with Daniel Priestley and the way that he talks? Yeah. So he talks a lot about the business to be in is service businesses. Yeah. He talks about that a lot, and that is going to be protected. But one of my sort of philosophies and theories is that how are people going to find your business in the first place? The way it's moving at the moment. So I guess the sector you're in, you've got this weird situation where you've got to jump on, you've got to adopt this new technology because you don't want to get left behind. But the business that you're in anyway is declining. So how do you see those two things interfacing?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because we've been sort of pioneers on the higher technical stuff for many years now, on the Sapphire boiler range, for example, which is quite a few steps ahead of what's already mainstream, and that is resistance already from a certain demographic in the heating community. It's like, oh, we don't need it. We're talking about 30-year-old technology we don't need to improve on that. That's just the way it is. But the demographic in the heating sector of these guys, you're talking 55 to 65 years old. I don't think they're going to change dramatically. So I think the youngsters coming in, they're really going to embrace this, just to be more efficient as well. I mean,
and are there youngsters coming in? Are they coming into your sector?
They're coming in more maybe for the renewable side of the heating sector.
Right.
But not. There is some coming into the oil business and the gas business, but I think it's not very sexy. You know what I mean? It's more for the renewable side of the business. So a lot of them are coming in because it's a way into the industry.
Yeah.
To do the oil and the gas, and then they diversify into renewables. That's what they really want to do. Which, let's face it, electrification is going to be the future in a lot of areas, but not all the areas.
No, I mean, as you know, we've known each other for a little while now, and I'm based up in the far north of Scotland, and there's a lot of talk about sort of the phasing out of oil-fired central heating, but I just don't see what the alternatives are. If you're an old lady in 70, 80 years old living on the Isle of Skye, and you have that oil delivery every couple of months or so, I just don't. What are the opportunities for that demographic?
That's the thing. So we've been, as an industry, championing the bioliquids. So actually blending bioliquids into kerosene. So kerosene is your heating oil, and then put an element of HVO, so hydro-treated vegetable oil, into that fuel, and you don't need to change anything on the boiler then.
Right.
So your customer will just order the fuel. She won't know that it's got this element of blending, but then we are decarbonising a whole sector then, without anyone having to do anything. But it's just getting government to see that is an actual worthy proposition, if you see what I mean. Because at the moment it's like hell bent on, no, everyone's going to have electric and that's it, but the infrastructure's not really there. And the customer base don't always want it either. They like their boiler. They like the way they turn their heating on and off. And you're forcing a technology onto people that they perhaps don't really want. And that's the issue. And that's why the boiler upgrade scheme that the government have been introducing across the UK hasn't had the uptake that they said.
Yeah.
I think Boris Johnson says 600,000 heat pumps will be fitted. And now they're watering that down, going, oh no, mate, it'll be quite a bit less than that. But there's still not. There's a big pot of cash that government have allocated for this bus scheme, and it's not been used.
No.
It's still sat there. So people are not embracing it as much as.
We've seen a lot of companies spinning up to install that technology up in the Scottish Highlands, and anecdotally, just put that out. Anecdotally, the people I know directly, one chap used to work for me. His wife works in that sector. They put it into their house, and it's been an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
I think the electricity costs are prohibitively expensive at the moment. So
I think a lot of it is down to lack of understanding from the installer,
right?
Because it's a different technology, it's a lower temperature technology. It's sort of low and slow rather than a boiler that gets high temperature and they can turn it off and on like traditional thermostat, where you don't do that with a heat pump. You just let it go. And that for the age demographic, that is also a challenge because people go, oh, I'll turn it off.
So you think it's going to be some years away before we've got AI robot heat engineers going out, travelling around in automated vans, fixing stuff. The technology will be long gone before then.
I would say so. I mean, there might be something else that's come along by then, probably. Maybe it's just this is heat pumps, maybe just a stepping stone to something else. You see what I mean? But robots coming in and fixing boilers,
not yet.
Doubt it very much. I mean, I can see equipment becoming more modular, so you just change things in and out rather than trying to fix a particular thing. I can see, we just changed that whole thing and it just goes away. I can see that happening, things being more efficient like that.
And I mean, Martin, you're a smart, forward-thinking, intelligent entrepreneur that's running a multi-million pound business. How have you got to where you are today? Because you worked within the company, did you not? And then you went through and you've purchased that company, and now you're looking to grow and expand that company through acquisition. So just for the listeners, just give us a little bit of a background of how you've got to where you are today. I'd like to interrupt the podcast just for a moment to tell you about a little something that I think will add real value to your week. Every Sunday at 5 o'clock, I can deliver directly to your inbox my newsletter. The AI space is just moving so quickly at the moment that this newsletter is full of my philosophies, my tips, my tricks, and all the latest trends. There's a link in the description below on how to sign up. Now let's get back to the pod.
So I was a heating engineer by trade. So when I left school, I was 16, straight into what was called the YTS scheme at the time.
I remember.
Yes, and I think it was a grand sum, like £28 a week or something I got paid, which was like amazing, back then. And it used to be like a block release. So you'd go to college, tech college for a few weeks, then you'd go out on the tools with the old guy in the van, and you're a slave basically for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Whilst you do, it was an old-fashioned apprenticeship, which a lot of people don't do now. They come straight, some fast track through it. So it was an old-fashioned apprenticeship, and then so I just progressed then through the heating industry. Went away for a few years. I lived out in Spain for a few years, so sort of bummed around a little bit, and didn't really know where I was going. And then I came back and thought, right, I've got to sort myself out. Yeah. So I retrained again because I've been out for a while. So I retrained again, got my gas qualifications. And then I actually worked for a while at a mental institution. And that was basically because I wanted to get into the more industrial side of things.
Yeah.
So I was working in the boiler house, steam raising plant, etc. And that was a great grounding because this guy literally took me under his wing, that boiler house engineer, and he really sort of trained me up on everything, all things big commercial industrial stuff. So that's where I cut my teeth on the industrial stuff, which is more lucrative.
Yes.
Everyone's chasing the money on the small residential stuff. It's not for me. But the money in that sector is appalling. Sorry, in the NHS for pay. It wasn't a long termer, but a great experience. So then I left there and I worked for myself, just set myself up as a heating engineer. And I did that for about 4 years, self-employed. I was probably terrible at it because I didn't really have the mindset at that point to be the businessman and the engineer. I was more like the engineer, you know what I mean? So you still see it today. I see it all the time now and I recognise it in guys. And it's like, they'll come home from work and they'll be scribbling out invoices and that, or they get the wife to type them all up when they're at work and things like that. And they're so disorganised. And in the end, it was like, I'm not enjoying this. And the next, I tried to employ a guy, and he was a disaster. He was always off sick, or he was a bit of a drinker, so he'd always call in sick the next day. And I'm like, I'm a bit despondent with this employing people. So I then actually got a job working for Worcester Bosch. Boys,
oh, right,
which is
okay.
obviously everyone knows that. So I worked there for a couple of years, and which was great. Another great experience because it's a good brand, and they do a lot of training there, so you get some great deal of experience. And then this EOGB opportunity came along, where obviously later on purchased it. So EOGB at the time was just purely a distributor of spare parts and a distributor of commercial burners and that kind of thing. So I thought it's an interesting diversion. But when I got in there, I realised that perhaps the hierarchy were kind of, I guess, coasting a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see an opportunity here to actually really grow this business. So there was no training, so I integrated the training into it. So we made the training centre a fully accredited training centre, and we started getting guys coming in, and then it's like, okay, what else can we do? And so we then started taking people out to Italy for commercial burner training, because one of our partners is an Italian burner manufacturer. So we just started growing that community of installers, and the business grew quite nicely at that point. And then it came to a point where the guys were the original founders were looking to retire. So I bought a small amount of shares into the business, and they made me technical director for a period of time. And then
that's really unusual for a business owner to let you buy shares like that.
Yeah. It was only a small amount of shares, but it just gave me a way in then to have a little bit more influence into the business. And then as circumstances changed a bit, and they made me MD, and then that's it. They left. I mean, one guy was well out of the business, and the other guy was dipping in and out as and when, but I didn't really want that influence too much. And then it came to a period of time then when I said, look, I'd like to buy this business off you. And they were, no, it's not for sale. No, that's our pension. We haven't got a pension, they said. Because they said, we ploughed all our money into the business and never actually invested into a pension. So this is our pension. And I said, well, I don't think it's sustainable what you're doing here, because you're just basically taking money, retained profits from the business into your pension. Long term, I don't think it's going to work. So we come to a deal, and in the end, I managed to convince them that it was the right thing to do. So I purchased 100% of the business.
How long ago was that?
That was 2 years ago.
Right, okay,
yeah,
crikey.
Yeah. So I was with the business a long time. It's only the past 2 years where I bought 100%. But I've literally been running the business for 15 years.
Yeah.
At director level. So I knew the business very well. So I knew what I was buying into. So, and I knew the opportunity to grow. So that was where my main.
No real friction with the staff then either, because you're there. Your feet are under the table. They know exactly. What's going on.
A lot of people probably didn't even know who the ownership was, because some people had come in and I was already in place. So people maybe just assumed it was me anyway. It was just the way it was. And now I've got a thirst for it. It's looking at other things now, because we have our modulating sapphire boiler range, which we're pushing out. So I've got the boiler range, got the burner range, got the spares range, I've got training. But then what we're seeing now is a fair bit of erosion in the margins, because it's the way of the world at the moment. People are trying to race to the bottom to achieve market share. So I'm looking at bolting on other acquisitions that complement the business now. So, for example, I've just acquired a business called Harry Taylor HVAC 2 weeks ago, and that is a commercial heating company that specialises in warm air. So you think warehouses, factories, hangars, you name it, anywhere where there's like suspended heaters and like the radiant heaters you see in like garden centres and things like that. That's their speciality. So we feed our product into this, so it's like circular. So we're actually feeding, which is a great acquisition.
And really, I guess, looking at that traditional sort of business model and those traditional businesses, all you can really do with AI and automation in those is sprinkle it over the top to improve your systems, your processes, the customer delivery, the customer service. And I guess probably nobody's looking at that sort of stuff in your space at the moment.
I don't think so.
No.
So like the technical side of it, the technical support, out of hours, the phone agent, that kind of thing, and then bringing all that in. I don't think people are really looking at that closely. A lot of these businesses are the baby boomer period, where a lot of the owners are 60 plus, and they're just riding it out, and they're probably thinking, that's that AI thing over there. Don't worry about that. But I think there's a massive opportunity for people to come in.
100%. And I think one of my sort of philosophies and teachings is that I believe that you should very much put the human at the front of the process. I think a lot of traditional businesses at the moment are rushing to bring AI into the business for cost saving, whereas the smart thing to do is actually think, how can we improve the customer experience and improve the customer journey? And if we can really polish that and improve that, that's going to cement our market position. And you've got, at the size that you are, you've got that brilliant sort of first mover advantage in that space as well, because the big boys won't be thinking about that at all. So I guess one of the questions I like to ask guests on the show is that, everybody has a different kind of feeling for what AI could potentially do within their business and the direction it could probably go in. So my sort of question to you at the moment, Martin, would be, what are you building? What are you thinking about? What's next for you that you can plug into your business to help you grow and scale and better serve your customers?
So I definitely think out of hours technical support. I think that's a big one. I think people now are quite happy just to constantly, they don't really want to speak to people all the time. Like, for example, now people just buy something online, like a boiler installation even, without even speaking to a human being. Yeah. So that's the way that the younger crowd are going. So, but for experiences in our business, there certainly can be a lot of efficiencies, I think, in purchasing, stock control, things like that, where we can actually calculate a lot more, say, scientifically on our stock levels, because we hold 1.5 to 1.8 million pounds worth of stock in our warehouse at any one time, and it's a lot of money tied up there, sometimes on stock that perhaps we shouldn't need at that time. So if we can actually find more efficiencies there in our purchasing, there'll be a lot more spare cash to actually use elsewhere. But at the moment, it's just like, let's load it up. And you perhaps don't need to do that if you're a little bit smarter. So definitely on that side of things, behind the scenes, that people wouldn't even know it was AI, if you see what I mean. That you can actually have some kind of algorithm can work out, okay, over that period of time, those parts were used. We sold 500 of those last month, but the year before we sold 600. And it's like building a profile. So actually, we're not overstocked all the time.
What I'm seeing in one of my businesses, which is a survey and inspection company, is that because we've been going for 10, 12 years, we've got so much data. And there's a very popular phrase that everybody's aware of, is that, what gets measured gets managed. But there's the alternative to that as well, that what gets mismeasured gets mismanaged. So I think you have to go back and, with a human eye, look at those data sets and understand what is important in that. But once you've got that, the data would be overwhelming for a human to look at. But being able to plug that at founder level, even just into something like Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever, and just say, here's this data set, can you go through that, have a look for patterns and stuff, and you just know it's being done robustly. The business intelligence, I think, is when you're at your level, is where the real leverage comes from. It's really, really smart. So that's fantastic. So what's next in your space then? Where do you see yourself going over the next sort of 5 years?
A couple more acquisitions.
Got a taste for it.
Yeah. And I do like the deal. I do like the structuring deals and that kind of thing. It's what gives me a bit of a buzz doing that.
Can you use AI to help you find those deals?
A little bit. I do actually put sort of sanity check through AI a little bit. So I do use that as a sort of a sounding board.
Yes.
I use Claude and put it through there and go, look at this, I'm just structuring this, what do you think? And then backwards and forwards a few times, and yeah. And that actually has got me down to heads of terms on one recently by doing that backwards and forwards. So I am using it in that way, which I don't know if other people are, I'm sure they must be. But you'd be amazed how many people are just still using ChatGPT for just basic stuff and don't even know the next thing. You know, that's
50% of people are using it for web search. Nothing more, and that in itself is interesting. I don't. Do you guys do any paid advertising?
We do Google Ads and the Facebook, Meta stuff like that.
I mean, I think there's a huge opportunity coming when OpenAI starts to bring paid ads. I think for any business in your sort of sector, it's going to be. Those of a certain age will remember what it was like when Meta released their first ads, and you could get leads for 25p. Well, I firmly believe that's going to happen again with OpenAI, because they've got 800 million users, 900 million users now. Only 5% of them are paying. They are desperate to get cash into that business. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's fantastic. Martin, if people want to find a little bit more out about you, they want to find a bit more out about the business, we'll obviously put links in the description, but what's the best way to reach out to you directly if somebody's out there listening and they want to sell their HVAC business to you?
So on Instagram, Martin Cooke 73, or reach straight out to eogb.co.uk and go through the contact page there and you'll find me in there. Or LinkedIn. Partner about on LinkedIn as well, just Martin Cooke. Pop
all that in the description. It's been really interesting having you on, listening to see how you are using AI in a traditional business, because I think people don't realise that there are opportunities for what are traditionally seen as boring businesses. So thanks a lot, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cool.
Thank you.